Okay, we're gonna call the March 12th, 2024 Town of Selma Council Meeting 2 to order here at 6 p.m. To start off, thankfully we have a fantastic guest here today. Our county commissioner here, part of Selma currently, and county commissioner, of course, for all of Johnston County. Ted Godwin is here. If you'd all please stand for invocation for this meeting. Mr. Godwin, if you would give us the invocation.
Mr. Mayor and Council, if you would indulge me, I'd like to start with a moment of silence in memory of Commissioner Tony Brasman. Our Father God, we're thankful indeed to be here tonight to enjoy the blessings of this day, the blessings of being in Selma. We ask your blessings on this meeting tonight, on all those that are here, all the families represented, especially on our elected officials that make decisions that affect us all. We ask for your guidance, your leadership, your forbearance, and your grace. Forgive us our shortcomings, for it's in your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. And we also have another very special guest here today. Miss Peden of the Girl Scout troop that fattened up all of the Selma staff this year is here. I believe that's exactly right. If you don't mind, if you could go ahead and start us off and lead us in the Pledge of the Flag, if we could all turn to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, we got to get into this thing. Council, before you have an agenda. I know we have, I believe, at least a couple of additions to make, Mr. McDaniel.
5A, need to update the canine officer recipient to retired officer Donald Wilson.
Okay.
And the proclamations, so that 5B, need to add Girl Scout Week proclamation.
Absolutely. Is that all we have, staff?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
So we've got those additions for the agenda, and then you have the rest of the agenda in front of you. Council, take a moment to look over it, see if there are any other additions or subtractions that we need to go ahead and make, or if there's anything that we need to move to consent. Any of these contracts, do we need to do anything special for?
So, just for a couple of 7J, you stay A, B, and C need to be in the open meeting.
Okay, very good.
The train roof, depot roof is a very basic contract y'all want to talk about with the CDOC grant. That's completely up to you if they talk about it, but it's pretty cut and dried. Y'all already awarded the bid, just for the contract. And I think that's the only thing that,
You said a 7J?
yes, sir, said that,
F.
Okay.
Yep.
ADF in the business.
8F, there we go. So, train depot roof contract, anybody have any heartburn about moving that to consent? Move that to consent, so we've got that moved to consent. Anything else? With that, is there a motion to approve the agenda with those changes?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we've got ourselves an agenda. So with that on our consent agenda, we've got the approval of minutes from February 8th and February 13th for our regular council meeting. We also have a budget amendment number 7, and we have Train Depot roof repair contract moved into consent as well. Consent agenda before you as I've read out. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Got our consent agenda rolling, and that brings us into recognitions and presentations. We've got a resolution and retirement to look at for K-9 Officer Samu. Chief Hughes, if you take it away.
He's worked up.
My man.
Just sitting back thinking, this is the fifth K-9 that I've seen retire. This is K-9 Samu. He's 3-year-old now. And unfortunately, at the end of last year, he was injured, training. We actually took him to the vet and, had a CAT scan performed on him and basically come to the decision of he was gonna do more harm if we continued working him. So we come to the decision of retiring. This is retired Sergeant Don Wilson from Selma Police Department. With the situation we had, there wasn't a finer person that I could think of to take this dog. It's a sad time to retire a K-9, but at the same time, it is a happy time that he can go and enjoy the rest of his life and have some happy time. These guys are like pro athletes. The things we put these K-9s through is unreal, and this is probably one of the finest dogs that I've ever seen. I had the pleasure to see work. So once again, happy time but sad time as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We do have a resolution to look at for Samu. And did you want me to take care of the information for
Yes, sir.
Samu as well?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So K-9 Samu is a almost 4-year-old Belgian Malinois. First began his career with the Selma Police Department in 2021 and served faithfully. In July 2023, sustained a career-ending injury while conducting training exercises. No longer able to perform the difficult requirements established for police K-9s. He is, however, able to live a happy life with retired Sergeant Donald. Thank you for your sacrifices and dedications, Samu, to the Selma Police Department and the town of Selma.
He can't take his eyes off you.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. He knows what's up. So I do have a resolution authorizing the surplus and sale of K-9 Samu. Whereas GS 168-266D permits the town council to authorize the disposition of personal property that is without value, which is not true. You're invaluable, Samu. Whereas police officer Austin Nixon has agreed to the purchase, which we're going to change that for the record to Mr. Don Wilson, has agreed to purchase retired K-9 Officer Samu from the town of Selma in the amount of $1. Is that going to work for you? Okay. And upon accepting custody of the dog, will assume all liability and responsibility for the care of the animal for the remainder of its life. And now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Byron James McAllister, and the Selma Town Council authorize the purchase of K-9 Samu by Donald Wilson for the amount of $1 effective February 13th, 2024. And if council so approves, I have a motion to approve, authorize this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. This is duly adopted this 12th day of March, 2024. Oh, you okay, buddy? You okay? That was a jump for joy right there. Wow.
He really wanted $1 back.
I will bring this to finance, I assure you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sam. Let's give him a hand. Fantastic. All right. We also have, for recognitions presentations, a proclamation declaring Girl Scouts Week. Ms. Peter, do you want to come up and talk about Girl Scouts Week?
in our troop, and some were, it's softball season, so if you're dealing with young people, it's anytime you get them there, that's a good thing. But we have Troop 1092, and always represent our Girl Scouts for years. This is, I think, my 51st year. I'm proud to say, yay, yay, yay. I have did Girl Scouts with Jackie Lacey, which all of you, I'm sure, are familiar with. But I want to come and thank all of you. I know if you raised your hand, if you didn't buy cookies, I have some more. But I will say, on the weekends, as you know, this past weekend, Saturday, would you have wanted your child out there selling cookies? No. Sunday, we couldn't hold them because they would blow away. And we've had a lot of dates like this. So what I'm trying to say, if any of you would consider this, I want to say thank you, but I want you to always also think about this. We have many cases of cookies left. So if any of you would like to donate it to an organization such as, yeah.
Right on time, Gene Kelly, right on time.
But seriously, so many organizations, homeless people, the shelters around here, we have a lot of those, do we not? And for people just everywhere, and we would take your donation, or you could take 50 boxes of cookies and eat. I wouldn't mind. I just want you to keep us in mind. My name's Linda Peden. I'm sure the mayor, I've worried him enough, and all of you.
I've enjoyed it, and thank you for the cookies.
Oh, you're welcome. So give me a call anytime. And if you have children between the ages of 5 and up, we have with us, I want to introduce you, we have the ranger at our Girl Scout camp, Camp Mary Atkinson.
Hey now.
His name is Kyle Dyson.
Dyer.
Sorry. I know
Pleasure to
that. And his daughter with us tonight, and we thank you so much for allowing us to come and say our thanks and put forth our efforts for the future of Girl Scouts.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So much. And so I do have a proclamation declaring Girl Scouts Week, and that proclamation reads, whereas March 12, 2024 marks the anniversary of Girl Scouts of the USA, founded by Juliette Gordon Low in 1912 in Savannah, Georgia. And whereas throughout its distinguished history, Girl Scouting has inspired millions of girls and women with courage, confidence, and character to make the world a better place. And whereas through the Girl Scout leadership experience, girls develop the skills and lessons that will serve them throughout their lives so that they may contribute to their communities. And whereas Girl Scouting takes an active role in increasing girls' awareness of the opportunities in math, science, sports, technology, and many fields of interest that can expand their horizons. And whereas more than 3 million current Girl Scout members nationwide will be celebrating this American tradition and welcomes girls from every background to join. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Byron McAllister, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the town of Selma, do hereby applaud the commitment Girl Scouting has made to support the leadership development of America's girls and proudly proclaim the week of March 10th, 2024 as Girl Scout Week. And with that, council, I would like you to vote on officially adopting this proclamation for the town of Selma. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
112 years, we got to do it, guys. 112th birthday, we got to do it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Happy birthday. All right, we then have, coming into number 6, open forum citizens request. We have anybody signed up? Oh, we got a sheet. Let's see, we've got first, Sean D. Sorrentino, representing Grassroots, North Carolina. Come on up. If you would, again, state your name and your home address for the record.
My name is Sean Sorrentino. My home address is 32 Trusting Lane, which has, oddly enough, a Middlesex address, though I do live in Johnston County, about 25 miles up 39 from here. I'm here not representing myself, but representing Grassroots North Carolina, which our president has a letter that he has sent to you guys. You should all have received it by email in the last 30 minutes or so. He will also send by regular old-fashioned snail mail a copy of this. Plus, I have a copy of the letter and what did he call it? There's a memo from our lawyer that goes with the letter. Just to give you some background, Grassroots North Carolina has been our state's primary Second Amendment organization since 1994. As such, we were central in drafting and passing our original concealed carry permit law in 1995, and we have shepherded numerous enhancements to the law in the ensuing decades. Now, I'm not going to read the entire letter. You'll have plenty of time to do that on your own. I want to save you a little time. But there are a couple things I wanted to point out. Please see attached the legal memorandum from Edward Green Esquire, who describes your new ordinance as flagrantly illegal. You know what ordinance we're talking about, the Parks Ordinance. And included in that, my advice, this is from Paul Vallone, our president. My advice is to immediately fire any attorney who gave you advice on the ordinance, since, as a violation of state law, it exposes you to litigation, including damages, attorney's fees, and court costs. And the last little bit I want to point out to you on this letter is specifically your ordinance violates state law in at least 4 ways. You may not ban handgun carry by concealed handgun permit holders in the entirety of municipal parks, as you appear to attempt. I'm going to leave out this citation. Number 2, you may not ban handgun carry by concealed handgun permit holders on the entirety of a street or public right-of-way, regardless of whether you closed it for a public event, as you seem to attempt in one of the subsections. I'll leave that out. Your citation of weapons at parades, etc. prohibited is ridiculously overbroad and an unenforceable interpretation of the statute. Number 4, you may not post signs at the entrant, spelled incorrectly, of such areas that possession of weapons carrying a concealed handgun is prohibited, as you seem to attempt in one of the other sections. And lastly, number 4, you may not unilaterally declare firearms confiscated during enforcement of your unlawful ordinance to be contraband and order them destroyed, as you seem to attempt in a further subsection. Now, we've sued multiple cities, probably a county or 2. Sheriff of Mecklenburg, Sheriff of Wake County, both of those twice. The city of Winston-Salem, Agricultural Commissioner Steve Troxler, and Governor Beverly Perdue, and all but one of those succeeded. So I urge you to take a look at this memo and bring your ordinance into compliance with state law and save all of us a lot of hassle. We don't want to sue you and waste our money. We don't want to waste your money. We don't want you to waste your money. So please, take a look at this, have your attorney take a look at this, and bring your ordinance into compliance with state law. Do you have any questions for me?
No questions, but I'll tell you, thankfully, we've already had that discussion to touch base with council again to say, hey, go back and look at it. There have been some questions. Let's make sure it's completely in compliance with state law. So we appreciate you sharing that with us. And again, we are certainly going to go back and look at it. And I don't know if we're going to take that up at this particular meeting, but I do know that it will be discussed very shortly, and council will come back to us with some information.
Very well. This to the clerk or to the attorney?
To the clerk. To the clerk. Yes, sir. Thanks, bud. All right. Next up, Ms. P, and did you have anything else for Girl Scouts? Or are you good to go, Ms. P?
We're good to go.
Good to go. Yeah, absolutely. With those cookies, we can't forget you. Christina Witten of the Southern Bostonian. All right. Do we have anybody else who wanted to speak as part of open forum citizens requests?
hearing.
Well, we are actually gonna open up a public hearing, so that would probably be best to put it on the record in there. Now, if you do wanna share as part of this as well. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Anybody else as far as open forum citizens requests? All right, going once, going twice. We're good. Public hearings and appeals, which are coming into right now. We do have a public hearing for 100 North Rayford Street. It's a special use permit. Staff, what do we have going on there?
Staff notes to
We can give a brief overview and then the report, just do it when we swear in.
as far as the overview, Ms. Austin, if it was nice, each of that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
This is to do with, Hatchet Brewery with Vault, right across the street, I've probably seen a beautiful sign. Our wonderful planning department caught, that, initial permitting wasn't correct, and this requires special use permit. So we got that process going. Y'all been involved with Vault the whole time, incentives and agreements, and signage and stuff, so this is really a formality. But we want them to have our business correct.
Make sure it's done right.
Correct, and that we're following our rules. So I would prefer to open this, special use permit process. As far as the staff report, this lot is currently zoned central business, and staff believes it's consistent with our land use plan.
Well, let's get ourselves a public hearing open if council so chooses. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing for 100 North Rayford Street?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We do have a public hearing open.
This is what I'd like to do.
Quasi, and I would swear in any witness,
Absolutely.
or applicant, or, so anybody that's wishing to testify, I know you want to do it for staff side,
Yeah. But anything else, I think,
applicant or anybody wishing to testify for or against a special use permit. Yes, sir. All right, what we'll do is just come on up and you can ceremoniously raise your right hand. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Go real quick and raise your right hand in any testimony, and you can give the counsel the truth, the whole truth, that's about the truth, so help you God. All right, so this time we'll consider you sworn. Chief, if you want to do the background and any information with the plaintiff.
Again, just for the record, I'll just repeat myself. This is to do with Development Hatchet. They've applied for a special use permit. They are in compliance with our ordinances and our zoning. And, staff has no issues with issuing this special use permit.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council. My name is Greg Walker. I'm the owner of Hatchet Brewing Company. I'm here to answer any questions pertaining to our business model or what we intend to do with the space on 100 North Rayford. The overview essentially is we'll have a small tap room, approximately 12 taps. In the front half of the building, the back half will be an arcade. Our intent truly is to establish like a community hub where we can support the town of Selma and its long-term growth, but also be a supporter of all the community events throughout the area. And to that effect, we are planning some events and things of that nature. It'll start off on the 6th of April with our grand opening. So that's the general concept. I'm happy to answer any more additional questions regarding any specifics, but that's our overall business model and concept.
Very
So,
cool. Thank you.
Pending any questions from you, that's really all I have.
Council, questions?
I do. Are you covered under alcohol beverage Article 2
We are, sir.
with $1 million?
I believe our insurance policy covers us for 2 months.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Anybody else?
I like your sign.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
For the record, it's on the record. That is fantastic.
Therefore, the record. The town will receive the application, any documents, plaintiff.
Anything else for the public hearing?
No, sir, you can close and go to deliberation unless you have any questions.
Motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Is that a second?
Second.
Discussion there? All those in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
ladies and gentlemen.
yes, yes. We need to deliberate on whether or not we want to approve this special use permit.
So you need to answer, four things to approve. This will materially not materially endanger the public health or safety, will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located, and will be in general conformity with the future land use plan. And that's your findings of fact to approve. If you approve.
Let's start off with the easy swing. Does anyone disagree with any of those findings of fact? With that, do we need a motion?
You can make a motion, combine
Motion to combine those four findings of fact and approve the special use permit for Hatchet Brewery.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Very cool, Mr. Walker. That's very cool, man. Thank you. No, we appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll get the staff the actual SUP. We've already got a draft, so we'll get that to Dalton.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. All right, moving right along. We've got public hearing for Myrtle Road, special use permit related to 200 Myrtle Road. Let's get some background information on that one.
All right, this came to the planning board in February, and it was also recommended to you. Myrtle Road is in our ETJ area, just town, between the second railroad tracks and I-95. Just to give you a ballpark where it's at. It's a dead-end road. It is paved, and this lot was formerly used by a logging company that was storing their stacks of driving material on it, and it was fenced in. I do not believe that was done legally with a permit. That's been several years ago, and the fence remains. This application is to change that into a record yard where they would park wrecked vehicles. Same fence, but they would update that fence. They do have in their application intentions to fix the fence up and meet our code, which the main thing there is update fencing and order landscaping. So it is a vacant lot and it is commercially zoned property.
Okay.
But all junkyard, repair, type garages and things like that requires special use permit.
All right, we got that information. Do I have a motion to open the special use permit application public hearing for 220 Myrtle Road?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? As far as opening the hearing?
Oh.
No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we got an open hearing.
Yep, and we'll do the same thing, swearing. Is anybody have the applicant, or come forward, and anybody speaking or offering evidence for this? Just do it, it's fine. Anybody else? All right, again, raise your right hand, and get any testimony that you can give the council to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, any swear or affirm. And you're both sworn, so Chief, we'll start it with you on the planning side.
Nothing to add, just that the planning board did recommend this, and, it does meet the zoning.
Thank you. All right. Background information.
Name and address.
Yep, my name is Nicholas Volley. We're at 220 Myrtle Road. We live in Johnson County in Archer's Lodge. This is my father's company, but I kind of do more of like representing on terms of like personal relations and stuff like that. So I'll be speaking about it. We've been doing towing in Raleigh, right off Lake Willard Road near the farmer's market, for the past, since 2013. So we're going on 11 years now. We're looking to expand into Johnson County a little bit more because we do get a lot of service in this area. It's mostly going to be insurance, like somebody gets into a car accident and the car needs to be stored until it's taken to auction, things like that. Also, we do illegally parked vehicles. Just for clarification, I don't want anyone to think we're going to come, and then be predatory towing all over Selma, causing, because I know there is that, kind of like people think that when it comes to hearing illegal towing and stuff like that. We do more of like long-term abandoned vehicles, things that are becoming a nuisance and, like you know, they're like diminishing the image of businesses. We don't drive around, patrol all night, give boots on cars and pick up cars that are in handicap spots. We don't do things like that. We do things that are general, actual nuisances to businesses in the community. So just for clarification. And yeah, I mean, we're just hoping that we can get that opened up here and just help us branch out into Johnson County. So I'm more than welcome to answer any questions anyone might have for me.
Council, questions?
I think Chief was saying it was, it's got some type of fencing already in place.
That's right, fence is still intact. It was-
Yep. Sorry to cut you off. Yeah, so the whole fence is still there. When we originally bought the property, which was end of last year, the fence was already there. It did have a portion of it that was kind of knocked over. It looked like somebody had bumped into it or something. We had that repaired already. Also about it being covered for like privacy screening, because also another thing is, you know, obviously we don't want that picture of like, you know, seeing a bunch of wrecked cars. So we did put up privacy screening, and then we're actually switching over to privacy mesh now. It's a little bit more durable, but we did privacy screening along the borders of the fence, and then also we're switching over slowly into the privacy mesh, which is kind of like little slits that go in between the fences. That's just a little bit more lengthier of a material, but we're making that transition to it too. So you know, in terms of being open to like the public eye, and I know one of the questions is if it'll hurt like the property values of adjacent and, you know, conjoining property that are in the area. I don't think that'll be a big deal or of concern, at least because everything is going to be covered up and done, you know, between typical business hours and behind the closed or the private gate.
Is any landscaping plan been turned in?
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of you guys haven't really been in that area because, you know, it's kind of like hidden right off 95. But if you have been, especially before we bought it, it was, you know, completely abandoned. It looked completely abandoned. I mean, you could barely tell there was a fence there. It was, you know, grass growing up to here, full of weeds, full of, you know, whatever was in there. So we had that completely. That was the first thing we did, you know, just make sure everything looks presentable. Cause that's another thing. Like if we're going to put our name on it, which now, you know, we are, we want it to, you know, like to upkeep the presentation of the company. So, we plan to regularly maintain it, but if you take a swing through there now, I mean, you're more than welcome to. It's completely landscaped out. Everything, between the street and the gate, and then everything inside of the gate is all taken care of.
You mean landscape, you mean cut grass cut?
Cutting grass, and then also like a lot of it's kind of strange, but like had a lot of roots grow in the fence because of such like a long-term abandonment. So we had all that taken
So
care
you
of as well.
didn't turn into planning, the planning department about a landscape buffer?
No, not that I believe.
Do we have any specifics in our regulations for fencing?
Yes, sir. So I'll read it to you so it won't be my word. In E of the 214-17, it's to E, wreck junk and salvage yard standards, wrecking junk and salvage yards are permitted. The following, provided that, number one, any such yard shall be entirely enclosed by an opaque fence or at least 6 feet wall in height and no more than 16 feet, which shall be kept properly painted if of a type which requires painting, but otherwise maintained in good condition. Landscaping and buffers in accordance with Appendix C, which talks about how the density of the buffer shall be maintained along the outside of all fencing. Our plan should be turned in too, so we'll have something to go by when it gets put in, and that has not happened.
So is the fence, meeting our code now?
In fact, I've been back there and it's not opaque. It's kind of a see-through mesh. When you get up on it, you can still see what's inside. So just as part of this, I think we certainly need a plan to get us up to our standards for that special use permit before we can go too much further, but we'll have to look at that as part of our findings of fact. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we close up this hearing?
Just for that last point you were saying about the mesh, we have noticed that too, especially with like such a big open flat land. You kind of can see a little bit through that the mesh. That's another reason we're slowly moving over to the slits that go in between the wire fence. That's like actual plastic. It's not like a mesh at all, or it's not like, you know, any like type of malleable material. It's plastic slits that go in between. So that in that sense, it should help, you know, the fact that you could see through, you know, through the mesh, because that won't be that won't be there anymore.
I still have a question. How long you anticipate the cars to park there, or trucks, whatever
So-
you took?
So we don't plan on having like cars rusting out there sitting on all flat tires. That's not really what we want. We don't want to just like be storing cars for free. So our biggest thing is it's usually quick turnaround time with insurance. Depending on the insurance company, it can be 1 to 2 weeks typically before an adjuster comes out, takes a look at the car, deems it salvage or not, and then it gets transported either to a body shop, which either we can provide or they provide their own towing service, or to an auction. So it's usually not super long turnaround time. Also with impounds. So if, like I said, usually the cars we get aren't cars that people are rushing to come pick up because they're abandoning them, taking their tags off, and they know that they don't want them anymore. You know, kind of like illegal dumping at that point. So with those cases, we actually have a set of paperwork that we do with the DMV to take ownership of the vehicles, and we're pretty swift about that because, like I said, we don't want a bunch of junk sitting on our land. So we do that process with the DMV. We take ownership of the vehicles at a certain point. It's usually like a 5 to 6 month process. If that, sometimes it can be shorter depending on DMV processing time. It's gotten better since we've gotten farther from COVID. But after that, we would either just scrap the vehicle or we would auction them off, or something of that sort, or private sale them.
So you're saying you're not really sure how long it's gonna sit there?
Well, I would say no longer than 6 months. To give you a 100% honest answer, no longer than 6 months.
Is that necessarily anything that can be part of our deliberations as far as the salvage yards?
You like so the time of the law, I think it's good.
We can put conditions, approved with conditions.
With conditions. And of course, I would also say bear in mind when we're talking about the fencing and buffer and things like that, we can either table this to get the appropriate information or approve with conditions, but we need to make sure we discuss that as we go into deliberations as we come out of this. Anything else, questions as far as the record?
Was the fence height, did I hear that right, was an issue?
Yes, ma'am. No, I don't think it's an issue. It's
Okay.
The code says it's got to be 6
6
feet
feet.
or no more than 16.
Right,
You know, but
thank you.
I believe it is probably an 8-foot fence.
Yeah, it's a standard.
I ain't going to measure tape, but
It's a standard fence.
So I'm just gonna speak it out. The application, for the permit is incomplete to me. It's incomplete.
Oh yeah, we don't have the information that we would need as part of our ordinance to have that information in the first place.
But there's a lot that's not there, so.
Absolutely. So, do we have anything else to add as part of the public hearing? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. With that, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman?
And Mayor, for the record, as far as the deliberation goes, you have the application, anything submitted to the planning board, testimony of the staff, the applicant's testimony, and I don't believe any additional documents were submitted, so that would be your record, so.
Excellent, thank you. All right, we've got a motion and a second on the table to close. All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll close that up. So, looking at the findings of fact, I would say, personal opinion, 1, good, 2, good, 3, questionable in my mind, but we might need to discuss that, and 4, I'd say, as a finding of fact, that is not the case. So with not having all 4 findings of fact there, is there any question about any of those that we see differently? I'd say particularly 4 is false. We need any more information on that?
You, no, sir. You would, options, obviously approve, deny, or approve with conditions, or you can table if there is a lack of information and an issue with the application. That would be your options.
they find any fact.
Deny.
Yeah, and I believe number 4 is false. So, council, do I have a motion to deny this special use permit?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mayor, point of order, and this is for the record, I
Yes.
apologize. If we're gonna do that, motion would be in order to approve the findings of fact you find sufficient for the record. And then if there's one that you find defective, isolate that, that's what the case law requires. And then at that point, you would deny on the backside.
Do you want us to do each of the three separately or three together?
I think you can consolidate 1, 2, and 3 if it was your issue.
Sounds good. So
Yes, sir.
with that, do I have a motion to accept and call the findings of fact 1, 2, and 3 acceptable?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And then with that, do I have a motion to find the finding of fact number 4 false?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now a motion would be in order to deny the special use permit.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good to go? Thank you very much. We've got more. It looks like an annexation to look at. Voluntary annexation related to a piece of property. Who wants to take that one away?
I'll be glad to, Mayor. And it's a lot of help with staff and the clerk, and as we know, the Eastfield project's moving forward. So the acquisition of some additional properties, at least 3, resulted in the need to bring more into the town. So the voluntary annexation application was submitted. Our clerk was ordered to go through and look at the sufficiency and do the resolution. That was required last meeting, so now it's been submitted. I think our clerk's done that. I think that's what's before council in terms of the approval. And then there's also, if you, after the public hearing, of course, there's been an ordinance, a draft ordinance provided. And when you look at it, it's really a C-shaped area they're adding to in the industrial side of it. And there is, the good news is there's a lot of activity with this parcel, and they should be able to, once it's annexed, proceed to getting something sold out there.
Total area of this, if I'm reading this correct, is 25.39 acres.
You know, that is correct, and there was a subdivision plat submitted by their surveyor. And again, it looks like a really big C when you look at it. And the property, the reason the C's there is there's some additional land that may be acquired later. Right now, there's not, but this will be in the industrial park phase of the Eastfield project.
Sounds good. What do you need from us?
At this point, Mayor, I think on your agenda package is the consideration, we would open the public hearing. And once we determine, if we are gonna approve it, we then would go in and look at the ordinances there. Anything from yours? All sufficiency, everything's met for the clerk.
All right, do I have a motion to open the public hearing for annexation of the properties we have listed on the screen here?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Got a public hearing open. All right. Chip, you want to take it away?
Mayor, be glad to. When you look at the presentation that was submitted to the clerk that's been certified, it initially, on the acquisition that we're bringing in, is a total of 9 parcels that make the acreage that is there. It is a contiguous annexation, which is also helpful. And I do believe we just confirmed from our clerk the investigation did find it to be proper, and he declared it to be sufficient. So I think if there's anybody for or against, if they wanted to speak, that'll be fine. But from the town's perspective, I think it's in order.
Thank you very much.
Sir.
Do we have anybody else that wants to speak as part of the public hearing? Do we have any questions related to these properties, council? So do we need any more information for this public hearing besides what's on the record? And we
No,
have a
sir.
list of the information in the record?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing related to these properties?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Got a closed public hearing, and then we just need to consider taking it into the town of Selma.
Sir, consideration of the ordinance.
That's a tough one. Council, do I have a motion to approve the annexation as the properties that we have listed for us?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very cool. Very cool. Selma's growing. All right. We have up next here. UDO, public hearing for UDO chapter 12. Oh, I apologize. I skipped one.
While you're there, after on D, public hearing for electronic gaming ordinance, after speaking to our attorney today, it feels like we might need to adjust that a little bit.
Absolutely.
So I would request that we table this to a further meeting.
Okay, so we don't even need to open a public hearing for this. Wait, actually, I'm sorry. Did we already have a public hearing open for this?
We already advertised that we can go to next week, right?
That's right, you can. You
We
can
already
table it.
advertised it.
Table, you're good to go.
All right, excellent. So we'll table this and we'll move it to next month. Make sure we cross those Ts, dot those Is. Fantastic. And then that moves us on to E. We've got a public hearing for chapter 12, article 7, parking. Text amendment. What do we need for this public hearing?
That's legislative, so it's a matter of opening it,
And
hearing,
closing it up.
and then closing it and making it.
Good deal. Absolutely. And we're gonna be able to add these into the record as well. Thank you very much. All right. All right, well, do I have a motion to open the public hearing related to chapter 12, article 7?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Let's open up this public hearing. Do we have any information from staff that's pertinent to the public hearing to put on the record?
But, the planning board unanimously did not recommend this to the council. And we have, had many phone calls. I can't say that any are positive. It's many emails,
Yeah,
many questions.
absolutely. Yeah. Let me add to the public record. This is what we need. Exactly. For all of these public hearings, all of these things that we have happening in the town of Selma, as Mr. Scarborough has mentioned several times at the end of meetings. Input, input, input. And more importantly, input for the record. Because whatever input we get tonight and whatever we come to, we're going to be able to have information for years down the road for when anybody else asks the same question. That this is what we did, and this is what was said, this is how everyone felt, and this is why this is the way it is. We've had a lot of things happen over our history that we have no record or understanding of why they happened. And it's important to get that record and understanding so that future generations don't have to go back and ask, why did we sign that agreement in 1949 for this thing with the county? So we do have the public hearing open. Now, I do have emails that I can read, but if anybody doesn't want me to necessarily read their email or sent an email, they can actually come and speak as well. It depends. If you've sent an email, I can read it out. If you want to speak yourself instead of having me read your email, your choice. Ms. Cassell, did you want to speak as part of the public hearing?
Well, I did.
Would you prefer to speak or would you prefer me to read?
I'm on stage.
Okay.
Basically the same thing, let everybody know. I'm Evelyn Jones Costello. I live at 306 Dixie Drive. My parents lived there since the 1960s. I think that ordinance was frivolous. It didn't have any data to back it. I actually called the police department and asked about reports on those streets because I was told it was concerned about safety.
Ms. Cassell, let me remind you, we don't have an ordinance yet. this is something that's up for discussion. So the ordinance doesn't exist yet.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, I'm against it, totally. And if you're even suggesting it or want to put it in place, I think there should be some data, a study, some details letting us know about other streets that may have problems, a police report of people calling in regarding those streets. Haven't had any information of that, about the cars. Also, if it's our neighborhood, why not all the neighborhoods in Selma? If you're just pinpointing us, I think it should be all the neighborhoods if you're going to start that. I sent my email. You didn't take any consideration of medical workers that come in to help the families. You didn't take any considerations of services that come in, parties. God forbid somebody dies up there that lives in the neighborhood. Can't have a funeral because people wouldn't be able to park to see you in visitations. So again, I think it's a ridiculous to even bring forward no parking on the street. That's it. Thank you.
So, in response to that, as part of the record, all those things that you mentioned, we did consider, and I'll be honest with you, and I'm putting the cart before the horse, but I don't think any of this council intends to adopt this ordinance the way it's written right now because it's incredibly prohibitive. But again, that's why we do these things, is so that everybody explains clearly this is what we do want, this is what we don't want. It's not necessarily that if it's on the agenda, it's going to be done, because as you can see, even tonight, there's a lot of things that we've said no to, and there's some things that we say yes to. But most importantly, it needs to be on the record so that if anybody else asks, hey, what happened to, or why haven't you done X, Y, and Z, we can tell you, this is why. Everybody said no. So it's not that, again, we're gonna throw something at you without having a deep discussion. In fact, we've talked about this now for 3 months and said, hey guys, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And I'm glad we've gotten some talk about it because this is what we need. I do have some emails still. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak?
My name's Ron Hester, 908 Dixie Drive. I've lived in that neighborhood for 30 years, and I'm not sure why we keep creating problems to try to solve. It's not a problem. I mean, the only problem I see in this town with parking is cars can't park on the right side of the road. But if you have 2 kids who drive and 2 parents who live there, that's 4 kids. You can't. I mean, I see cars parked in the yards. That seems to be the problem we need to address, not the parking.
And let
It's
me
not a parking problem.
let me ask that as part of the record too. While we're here, this is something for everybody to start considering. Do we really truly want to address people parking in their front yard? And if that's very true that we want to address that, because right now our ordinances are not great, we need to start that discussion now so that we can figure it out over another 3 months or so and decide what we want to do about it.
That's your only option. I mean, I don't understand why we keep creating parking problems. They're not problems. I mean, I think we have a lot of problems in town. We could probably be working on other than parking issues. And it's not, I've lived here 30 years, longer than, most of y'all been around here. A lot of y'all been around here. And I've never seen a parking problem except people parking on the wrong side of the road, which I think looks bad. I see it downtown. I see it all over town. People, instead of parking against traffic, and that looks bad.
And I agree.
But that's the only parking problem I've seen.
So as part of the record, I wouldn't say we're creating a problem. I would say, for instance, with the chicken conversation, I think we all very well knew we weren't interested in having chickens in town. But 5 people asked me about being able to have chickens in town, and we had to give them a very clear answer of why on earth we're not going to have chickens in town. And everybody said absolutely no to the chicken staff. It was so clear that even from a staff standpoint, it was impossible. We mentioned it, 2 months in a row? And then we said, we just can't do it. But again, if anybody at any point in time asks anything about the town of Selma, we are everybody. 1 person out of 7,000 asks something, we're going to try to get you an answer and explain to you why it is or is not a good idea. Because that's what transparency and clarity is for everyone. So I tend to agree that we have not even approached parking problems in the town of Selma yet.
I'm not sure why we're discussing it because it's not a problem. I mean,
Well,
I know you
again-
need to plan for the future, but also you need to fix the problems we have, and that's not the problem we have.
And we are quite quickly fixing a lot of problems that we have, but it doesn't mean we could ignore everyone's concern because we don't think it's a problem. If other people think it's a problem, we have to discuss it. Again, chickens, is there anybody in the room who wants chickens? See? But I'll tell you. Oh, look at that. But I assure you, the vast majority of everyone did not want chickens in the town. And so we just clearly said, look, we know the vast majority of people do not want chickens in town. I've had 3 people ask me about the parking on the street and squashing it, the ability to park on the street. 3. And with 3 people, I said, you know what, we need to have a clear discussion on why that's not necessarily a good idea or why it might be a good idea. But just because I think something truly doesn't mean everybody thinks that. But we also need to display that the majority of our community feels some way and make sure that it's actually on the record. So I appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. Do we have anybody else who didn't send an email that would like to speak?
My name is Don Barker. I live at 1210 Dixie Drive. And I'm just going to repeat, just want to go on the record as saying I agree. Frivolous, unwarranted, unsubstantiated with any facts. But I just wanted to make sure I came up here and let that be known. So,
Love it.
and I think you got an email.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to still read that? Because it was from Mrs. Barker? You want me to read that?
I gotta go.
Oh, wow, come on now.
I got practice.
Oh, no, respect. You go get that practice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Brian, go get him, buddy. Anything else that we need to, that we would like to speak as far as the public record? And then, like I said, we still have some emails as well.
Susan Bizzle-Soul, 420 Pecan Drive, Selma. I have submitted my email to be read into the minutes, so please read it.
Anybody else?
James Costello, 306 Dixie Drive. I too have submitted an email and I'd like that read and maybe have a final comment after it is read. Thank you.
Do you want to make a comment now? We get one swing at the bite. We won't read and do comments. Yeah, if you want to make a comment, make a comment.
I'll just make a comment, but I still want you to read it.
Yeah.
My position, just like my wife Evan, it's not the gentleman on the left, I think it's frivolous. But my position is, I don't think this motion, whatever, this idea should even be put to a vote. It should be just tossed out. Don't even consider it. It's ridiculous. Please read the amendment. Thank you.
Anybody else? So in response to saying what we should and should not put to the vote, I must disagree completely. We live in a democracy where we put up a lot of things for vote all the time that, quite frankly, I don't agree with, and sometimes they go through, sometimes they don't. Quite frankly, I agree with, and sometimes they don't go through, sometimes they do. But again, we got to have a public conversation, particularly if people in our community want something, and we know, quite frankly, the mass majority do not. So to say we don't want to vote on stuff or discuss it publicly, I think is a bad move for a community that is changing very, very fast. To make sure that everybody understands what we are doing. When we get to the end, I'll actually explain to you now. We had recently a conversation about a piece of property changing the zoning. The planning board recommended it to us wholeheartedly. I think it was unanimously, they recommended changing the zoning for that property back in August. But what we found is the vast majority of the community that would be affected by the changing of that zoning came out during that public hearing and told us, please don't change the zoning of that property. So we looked at it carefully, heard from these folks, and we disagreed with the planning board and said, don't change the zoning of that property. And again, we need to get the input of everybody to make sure that we understand clearly what's going on. So to get up in arms about us having discussion is strange. Now, if we do vote to do something that the majority has said don't do, you should be up in arms. But you should be happy that instead of doing things behind closed doors, as I would say we might have done in the past, we are doing things incredibly publicly and being incredibly transparent. I don't think that any of you realize that back in the day, we had a deep conversation about shrinking our police department when I was a council member. We had our sheriff come in here behind closed doors and explain to us and beg us to not shrink our police department because of the dangers of doing such a thing. And nobody even heard about it. I had somebody comment as part of their emails, and I'll probably read it here in a moment, about how we weren't doing enough tagging of speeders in the past. But they also didn't know in the past that we had a deep conversation about shrinking our police force, and that at one point in time, we had 4 police officers riding in one car for a patrol. Am I lying? Public conversation, so that you all understand what's happening in your community and what questions are being asked. Because I don't want anybody to try to pull the wool over your eyes going forward about what's being done, quote unquote, on your behalf. So, we've got some stuff for the record. I'm gonna work my way backwards on the email list here, and I hope I don't miss one, because I don't even think we've got all these covered here. Let's see. So we've got one from Miss Christina Uliski. You're here today, and that came in about 5:01. My name is Christina Uliski. I am a homeowner living at 422 Pecan Drive in Selma, North Carolina, 27576. When my family and I started looking for a new home after moving from a metropolitan city, we instantly fell in love with Selma. It was a perfect place for us to raise our children and spend our retirement years. Amen. While some wonderful changes are happening in Selma, I am strongly against my neighborhood's ban on street parking. Thankfully, your neighborhood has not banned street parking. This is an issue that affects me as a homeowner and a stakeholder in this town. The community was developed over 40 years ago, and since then, major cultural and societal changes have taken place. Nowadays, most families require 2 or more incomes to sustain themselves, which often means having multiple vehicles. On my street alone, most homes have at least 2 vehicles, and driveway parking is not a feasible option for all of them. Banning on-street parking would mean that families would not be able to have guests over for celebrations such as birthday parties or holiday gatherings. Homeowners would also face difficulties in getting services such as home repairs, landscaping, or home health care, as they would expectantly park on the street. I believe this ban is an abuse of power, no ban yet, and if allowed in Edgebrook, it would spread to other parts of the town. Our police force is already handling urgent matters, and they do not need the additional burden of enforcing a petty ordinance. I urge you to take into account the thoughts of your constituents and carefully consider this matter. Thank you for your time. No, thank you. Good piece for the record, and we'll make sure we have copies of all of this in the record. You know, back to mentioning about the streets turned around, the cars turned around the wrong way on the street. When we did have a shrunk police force, I can say we automatically said, hey, we can't worry about which way they're parked on the street right now. But I can tell you now, we're going to start getting those things. And that speeding and all that stuff we're going to pay attention to. Because we're in a different place in our community. But you're right, we certainly aren't in a place to where we have to have police chasing after people parking on the street. Let's see what else we have here. Norma Hoffman sent in today at 2:23. We are opposed to having parking prohibited in Edgebrook. Well said. Why just this section of Selma? What do we do for family gatherings? Where do we park? What about lawn care, maintenance personnel, construction personnel, roofers, etc.? Where does the mailman park to deliver mail? How do delivery people park? Where do people park for events at the Edgebrook Park? There is definitely not enough parking spaces there. If we wanted a HOA, we would have bought our home in Clayton. This ordinance is absurd and will be the downfall of our community. Please do not pass this ridiculous ordinance. Now, Norma gets it. She said, don't pass the ordinance. Clear statement. Don't do it. I mean, you can leave it one word and say, hey guys, don't pass that ordinance. We get it. What else we got here? S. Brown. That is Steve Brown. I am writing to voice my opposition to the proposed ordinance for prohibiting parking on the streets of the Edgebrook neighborhood and adjoining streets. Unfortunately, we have been out of town since January 3rd and have not been privy to any information regarding the reasoning behind the proposal, if there is one. We will also be out of town during the council meeting. Otherwise, I would appear in person to voice my opposition. Thank God for emails. I am curious as to why this has become such a dire need in the last several months. We don't think it's a need, just to make sure we're clear. I'm not aware of any traffic accidents, pedestrian injuries, or other mishaps that have occurred on our neighborhood street that will lead to such extreme measures as to ban street parking. I have no doubt that this proposal has arisen due to a complaint by a resident of our neighborhood. Kinda. But instead of dealing with this matter as it came up, it is probably allowed to escalate until this sweeping proposal became the only way out in the council's collective mind. Let me just make sure we clearly address that. This isn't a way out. This is just a public conversation. Aside from the reasoning, I wonder how a prohibition of parking will affect our neighborhood. It will apparently prohibit service workers from conducting business in our community, since the regulations don't provide any exceptions. Contractors providing roofing service, tree removal, lawn care, handyman jobs, or other needed work will now be prohibited from parking on the streets. Will I be prohibited from loading and unloading my camping trailer while parked in front of my house for a few hours? The regulations make no mention of that. If a neighbor has a death in the family, will mourners be ticketed when they park on the street when they come to visit the family? According to the new law, they will be. Holidays will have a new meeting when families come over for Thanksgiving or Christmas only to find their vehicles ticketed. I'm assuming that there will be an increased presence of police officers in our neighborhood to patrol our streets to enforce these new regulations. Or, will enforcement be regulated by citizens calling 911 to report these heinous violations? Maybe an increased police presence will help cut down on the speeding on our streets. There certainly has not been any effort put forth on that in the past. We are putting some effort on that now, though, aren't we? In fact, just to make a note on that, we did over the last year get how many certified for radar? 15 now, when before the last 2 years it was maybe one. Answering those questions too. So, it is my hope that this letter will be read into the minutes of the town council meeting when the parking prohibition is discussed and before being voted on. However, I doubt that will happen. Surprise! I anxiously await the final outcome of this process. Me too. And welcome any feedback. Lengthy email, but that's okay. You can simply say, hey, I'm totally opposed to this. Again, we'll get that just the same. I think there's more. Let's see, I think this might be, no, this is Evelyn Costello's first. Did you want yours read into the record? You're good? All right. Ms. Salt, you wanted yours read into the record. For the record, my name is Susan Bizzell Salt. I'm sorry. My address is 420 Pecan Drive, Selma, where my husband and I have resided since September 1996, 27 years. I'm also the vice chair on the Town of Selma Planning Board. When this text amendment came before the Planning Board at its regular meeting on Monday, February 26, 2024, after much discussion, I made the motion that the Planning Board not recommend the proposed text amendment to council for its approval. The motion passed unanimously. We discussed that earlier, didn't we? Fantastic. We did discuss that earlier, right? Yeah, very good. Prohibiting parking in Edgebrook as presented is an issue that will affect all of us. Examples: yard sales, visitors, funerals, various gatherings, vehicles for contracted services, to name a few. Just because there are a few isolated parking issues on these streets, there's no reason to make everyone else pay for those problems. In their sworn capacity, a law enforcement officer can approach these folks and make them aware of what needs to be corrected and or cited. I am a member of the Edgebrook Community Facebook group, and I have posted there twice regarding this issue. The first time was when I saw it on council agendas for the March 7th and March 12th meetings. The second time was after the March 7th council meeting. I realize our mayor is not in favor of residents communicating in this fashion, but this group is an avenue to inform our neighbors of items of interest and make the neighborhoods aware of what's happening in the town that directly affect us all. No. I'm not in favor of you not communicating with each other on Facebook, but that can't be something that comes to council as, oh, council saw this on Facebook, so they understand what's going on. I don't even have an actual Facebook for myself. My wife has Facebook, and she does all that cool stuff that you see on my page. She does all that. I just take a picture. And it's up there. As a resident in this area, I am in total disagreement with the proposed text amendment as presented and request that it be denied, which is perfect. You need to request that these things be denied. Well, we won't read all this statute stuff. But, again, this is what we need. Now, do we need it with all the dramatics? Not particularly. But we need you to tell us we don't like this and make sure it's clear. Mr. Costello, for the record, my name is James Costello. My address is 306 Dixie Drive, Selma, North Carolina. If my understanding of the protocol of how ordinances are to be reviewed is correct, then there are these 4 text amendments on tonight's agenda were handled in reverse. The planning department staff prepares items to be reviewed by the planning board, which is only an advisory board to the council. In the capacity, the planning board may elect to not recommend something to council for approval or recommend something to the council for approval. I hear that the planning board unanimously voted not to send this to council for approval. But here it is again. They can't vote to not send it to council for approval. They can vote to tell us that they're not recommending it for approval. Anything still can come to council regardless. It appears that the proposed ordinance text amendment was presented to the planning board on February 26, 2024. However, the council had already reviewed these 3 text amendments as its January 11th and February 13th meetings. So how is it that council can hopscotch the protocol and get the cart before the horse? So what happens is, even in a meeting, if a council member wants to look at something in an ordinance, we can look at anything anytime we want. And then we send it down to the planning board, and then it comes back up to us. Public hearing for ordinance text amendment. All right, I'm not gonna read all that. I hereby request that this email, oh, we got that too. Respectfully committed, James Costello. So we do have the ordinances listed in here. And we're actually going to go through the next ordinances as public hearings as well, so that everybody can comment on those and tell us what we aren't or are comfortable with. Oh, I missed one. A text message request to be read into the record. Start off with, okay, I've written 3 different emails and I didn't like any. Simply put, no regulations for temporary parking on streets. Large hazardous vehicles of a more permanent time frame is another issue entirely. I tend to agree. I'm not sure how we approach it, but I can see what you're saying. This is Miss Beeman, who lives on Griswold Drive. For the record. Did I miss anybody that we know of? We've got a lot of fantastic information for the public record. And 30 years down the road, somebody can sit here, and if this conversation comes up again, a clerk's going to be able to look up, we had this conversation before. And this is why They were like, no way, no how, if that's the council's druthers. Nobody else with public record? With that, do I have a motion to close the public record?
So moved.
Second.
Give that second to Councilwoman Watson. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Man, council, I think we've gotten a good amount of information here.
Adopt the order.
I believe it would be a motion to not adopt these amendments to this ordinance. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion there? All those in favor?
Aye.
Toss it to the side. It's ridiculous. So, with that being said, have a deep discussion in your neighborhood if there is concern about trucks, big vehicles, anything like that being left on the side of the road. Because from the understanding that I've gathered from much of this discussion is the concern really is about a few gigantic trucks that might cause a problem, particularly as far as being able to see around corners. And staff, I know this is going to take some time, so I'll tell everybody this is not anything that will be able to address me. This is a scalpel discussion. Get an understanding of legally what we can say as far as construction vehicles, trucks, larger vehicles versus messing with plain old cars. And so that we have a clear response if we want to explore trucks on roads. Okay? Moving right along. Text Amendment Chapter 13. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing related to Chapter 13, Article 3, nuisances?
So moved.
Second.
We all reading it. That's right. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We got a public hearing open. Would anybody like to speak as part of the public hearing related to, and this is touching on nuisances, the things like messy yards and things like that, and how we take care of their finding and the time frame as far as nuisances are concerned.
Mr. Mayor, this main thing, this drops the time to abate from 15 days to 10 days.
Okay, so it drops the time to abate from 15 days. So before they would have 15 days to correct the issue. Now it drops it to 10 days to correct the issue. All right. So if you've got lots of junk in your front yard, instead of having 15 days before it gets rechecked, you get 10 days. Same thing with your tall grass and things like that. Instead of 15 days to clean up your tall grass, you get 10 days. Is there anything else as part of that?
No, well, it does, this nuisance, 13-55, dealt more with just grass, and this takes the grass away. It just says the notice of abate of the nuisance.
Okay, so
It's
we treat,
not just grass.
so we treat the notice of abate for everything the same as we did with grass, and that gives it the graduated finding as well?
Yes, sir, it does. The only difference is grass violations, when you move to 10 days, you do get charged if we have to go get it. So that one does not do the warning first. First is the warning, then you got 10 days.
And then we go cut it, and then they pay for the
Charge
abatement.
That one's a little bit different than the normal just fine.
What did the planning board have to say on this?
I think this one was fine. I mean, one no vote. Is that correct?
One no vote on the planning board?
Yep. And it was majority to recommend.
Did anybody here want to make comment on this as far as the public hearing? Absolutely. So, name and address for the record.
I'm Julia Townsend at 606 Howell Street, and my question just popped in my mind when you mentioned about after 10 days that the city would cut your grass if, you know, if the time has expired. I have wiring in certain parts of my yard that is, what is it called? Grounding wire that extends from, certain places. So what if when the city comes out, something is damaged that wasn't damaged before, like a wire or something that affects your living and your resources and that kind of thing? And I'm actually requesting that, if it could stay at 15 days, because sometimes I don't feel really good in the summer. I generally cut my own grass. I love it. But sometimes in the summer, I just can't get out there.
Well,
I ask
would
for
say
help.
it's not. I mean, I wouldn't say, call it exactly the 10 days or the 15 days. It's gotta get to a height of 10 inches, correct?
So it first has to be 10 inches.
I see.
And then, from then, after we notice it's 10 inches, you then have 10 days to cut.
10 inches, 10 days.
Yeah, so it's not just every 10 days. It's how long it takes to get there. The notice comes out, somebody's gotta find it, sends you a warning, then you have 10 days, so you're probably talking like 20, 22 days, depending on the rain and the heat and all that good stuff.
I usually can manage within 8 to 12 days when it's really hot. I just do not like hot weather, and it just affects my health to try to get out there. Like I said, I enjoy it, but I'm not only thinking about myself. There are senior citizens that enjoy,
To answer your other question, any damage that would be heard about it, a town employee for any reason, contractor, you report that, we would let our insurance company look at it and deal with that.
All right. Ms. Kelly?
I'm Jean Kelly at 310 Ricks Road. I see surprises on here because I don't usually get to read it. I would like to keep it 15 days as well, only because, unlike this young lady that was before me, I've got 10 acres and I don't even look at all of it. And I depend on somebody else to come and cut it every 2 weeks. This particular year, our contract, and he's been doing it for years, his father got real sick and died. So he was late in getting started. So we had some issues, but I knew he was coming. I just think 15 days, that's 2 weeks and 2 days. 2 weeks, 3 days, because you don't work on Sunday. I think that we need 15 days. First, you got to see it. I didn't realize he wasn't coming. That's it. I just agree with her, except I'm not doing yard work. I have a checkbook. That's how I do mine.
I just want to stress.
Heard. Heard. Do we have any other comments related to the 15 days?
I'm Adele Walker, 109 South Rayford Street here in Selma. I'm sure a lot of people didn't notice, but if you have here that it's the town manager's choice the first time to give a warning or a citation. So the way you have it written here, if the town manager decides the first time to give a citation, you're not giving anybody a warning. So I think that needs to be changed unless you're going to let people know that you're automatically giving them a citation with the first chance. So that I definitely believe needs to be changed because it shouldn't be up to the town manager.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
if you see it underlined,
Yes.
that's an addition. So
Right.
what it reads today, in effect today, the town manager or his designated officer shall issue a citation. That's what's in effect now.
It says,
So
right,
warning is-
warning or citation.
But you're not reading it correctly. The underlined is the addition.
Right.
What is there now in the books is shall issue a citation.
So you think we should?
I know.
You think we should leave it as
You're
shall?
still saying or though. So you can still you can make the decision and go,
Ms. Walker, I think the question is you think we should leave it as shall issue a citation?
no, this is the way you have it as or. It shouldn't be or. It should be the first is a written warning,
Okay, so
then a second is a
so
citation.
currently in the ordinance as it's written today, it says shall. So I think the request is to leave it as shall so that there's no option to give the warning. Do we have any response on that? Anybody who thinks we should?
I
give
know,
a
that's
warning?
not what I said, but you keep interrupting me. You don't like to be interrupted, but you like to interrupt others.
I think she's reading it wrong.
Citation second. No, 21st, citation second.
So what am I missing? Let me read it again to make sure that I'm not missing it there. And does anybody else see
Yeah, it's the
The
or, because that was my question.
the or?
It says you shall issue a warning or citation, which means either or. It should say you shall first issue a warning and then a citation.
So then the question is do we want to still keep the warning
Yes,
and then say then the citation?
yes.
Yes.
But we do want to have the option for the town manager to give that option.
Just
First,
either one.
they give a warning, and the next time you gave the warning, you get a citation.
Which is currently.
Otherwise, you're issuing a citation without any kind of warning. People may be out of town, they may be gone, they have no idea. Common courtesy, give a warning, then a citation.
Which is exactly what we're doing. We're trying to make it by ordinance. Because right
As you
now,
read it now,
it says shall give a
his
citation.
designated
We have been
officer
given
shall issue a
warnings
warning
for
or
the past
citation,
6
and that person gets to decide whether it's a warning or citation.
Mm-hmm.
So it should say, he shall issue first a warning and then a citation, not to exceed $50. But the way it reads now, it's, this person decides if it's either or. So I had a question about that as well. I think it needs to be first a warning and then a
It shouldn't be
citation.
shouldn't be a choice.
Right, right.
So we're saying, so I think what's trying to be displayed there is the town manager right now has the choice, right? But what we're saying is we don't want a choice. We want to make sure there's a warning and then a citation. So let me ask you this question. So with like grass and things like that, if we issue a warning for the grass, so it's at 10 inches, we've issued a warning. How long before we turn back to then issue a citation?
Last piece.
So we would issue a warning when we see the grass.
10 inches.
Okay. And then we give them 10 days to cut it. 15. We want 15 days.
15 days,
Okay.
2 weeks. People line it up and get it done.
So then we give them 15 days.
Yes,
And then we can go and cut it.
and you charge it.
There you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
the town has to cut it. You charge it.
Mm-hmm.
Totally reasonable.
Absolutely. Okay. So then,
Yes, and that's
I don't mind, I'm just speaking what's actually happening.
right.
In a team, let's say if we've got a wet July, this happens every year, or wet time in the summertime.
Hey, if we could cut the chit chat in the audience right now, and then let's hear what we have to say, and then if somebody wants to speak and add something else, by all means.
So we get a wet time of the year, this doesn't happen in August when it's dry. But we get a wet time of the year, we catch it, cutting board catches somebody at 10 inch. And we don't catch anybody at 10 inch on the dime. It's usually a little higher than that, or when a complaint comes in, my neighbor ain't cutting grass.
Mm-hmm.
We issue a citation. There's gotta be a letter that goes out. We're at 12, 13, maybe days. But let's just forget that. Let's say we're at 10. I think people forget how quick your grass grows in 2 weeks, 15 days, over 2 weeks. Then we have to hire somebody ready to go. Last year, we were really trying to get them to go on the 15th day, because now the grass is this high. And these folks have to go out and cut grass that is way too tough. They want to overcharge us, which they should have, could have cut it 3 times versus 1, because it was this tall.
Mhm.
And I think what we're just trying to do, the staff, we can go 15 days, whatever council wants, but we have been assigned to clean up this thing and make it look beautiful. I think we've heard that from all of the staff. This is another way if we don't get this situation.
So if we send them a warning, it takes what, 2 days for that to get through the mail?
Approximately, yes, sir.
But a lot of times, I don't think we're getting the mail from the town that's an issue. I think that it should be posted on the door of their house. It should this is the warning, slap it on their door so they can see it. You can also send one through the mail, but have it on their door.
Okay,
We've only been sending a certified letter.
okay.
We could do whatever the council informed us to do and get this done, but I think the goal is definitely not be cutting this thick grass. Cause it's never just in our area, it's right beside the free yard.
Yeah.
And that's what we're dealing with. But I really think that, you know, at a minimum, if you go 8 inches, 10 inches, whatever, and then you add 2 weeks, that is too long for that grass to be cut.
So you're not saying that the code enforcement, it's already got it on the radar?
They're trying to, but I'm
They-
telling you,
it's gotta be more than true.
there's over 5 miles of road around here. And we got trash cans, we got furniture on the front yard, just let y'all see her violations. She is riding like crazy, and we ain't got the grass season. It ain't started growing, so it is going to be tough, but I can tell you, she is relentless, and, she is gonna be tough on it when it does get there.
So what I'm hearing though is we do want 15 days. Raise your hand if we say 15 days, residents.
Talking to
Okay.
But does your grass get to 10 inches, Gene? I can't believe it would.
So I do want everybody to just be very clear. It gets to 10 inches, and then you have 15 days. Everybody's good with that. Can I get that on the record? Somebody throw that on the microphone real quick. No, really, somebody come up, throw it on the record. If we get to 10 inches and then add 15 days, we're okay with that.
Can we try it out for 6 months or for a year, and then revisit it if it's not working? Just get the information.
We've been trying it for years.
That's what we've been doing for years. Yes, ma'am.
Question, are we looking at the same party all the time? Is it the same, offenders? No, I don't even, I'm just asking, is it the same offenders?
We have, in the town of Selma, I'd say from my standpoint, we have a bevy of offenders regularly throughout these, yeah.
That can't afford to.
And at one time, when I was looking at all of these reports, and I'm talking 5, 6, 7 years ago, you found that it was the same group of people. Sometimes they lived out of state, sometimes they lived right there, but you could see where it was the same offenders.
And I still gotta go back to what we're saying is that we get the grass to 10 inches first, and then you're adding 15 days for them to even have to look at it. So the 10 days is like, you've already let your grass grow for a week anyway. And then you've got another 15 days on top of it. Do we have a comment? Come on up.
That's right.
So Mr. Hamilton said he thinks 10 days should be a plenty, because by that time it will be about 30 inches. So, and this is why we open up these ordinances and have these deep dives, because everybody's got to understand exactly what we're saying.
Let me say to you guys, our code enforcement officer are not looking at these wild dandelions like I got in my yard. They're looking at grass. So, I mean, we can get these random things that grow up, 10, 12 inches and everything else. We're not writing violations for that.
I'm embarrassed of the dandelions in my yard. James, I bet you see them and go, gosh, she needs to cut those dandelions.
And
And those beautiful purple flowers around my mailbox.
Mayor Pro Tem Scarborough brought up a good point. He was saying, so if at 10 inches, it gets to 10 inches, we can't automatically as a town go cut it when it gets to 10 inches by statute. We then have to give them the 10 days, no matter what.
Right.
So you might look over and see a raggedy yard. We still got to give them 10 days. So we're bringing it down to, this is as quickly as it can get figured out. Now back to the warning versus citation, or we want to say automatically a warning, then a citation.
If you change that wording to shall issue a warning, comma, second violation, and further a citation. That's probably not perfect.
Shall first issue a warning. Right. Followed by a citation.
If we use comma or is it then add citation for further nuisance?
So here's the trick then. So the warning would have to be on the door, and that would still automatically start the 10-day clock. Is that what we're saying? Yeah, and that's what I was about to say. You got to mail it, because what'll happen is if we cut it in 10 days, somebody's going to say they didn't get the letter till 2 and they didn't see it on their door.
And make sure you put, if you put something on the door,
Maybe take a picture.
well, no, there are a lot of people who don't,
Go to the door.
Go to the
they,
front door.
they don't see it.
So that day, as soon as we get the notice on email or however we're notified, code enforcement officer will go by that property and look at the nuisance and say, yes, it is or it is not. And if it was maybe, let's say it was 8 inches, she might have that in her radar to ride back by in 3 or 4 days, and hopefully it's like, yep, they cut the grass, we're happy.
That's what you do. So basically, if I go in there, and that's, but you have to do it, actually paste on the, so it's door.
See what you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, you can place it on the door, it can just be code enforcement needs to take a photo, so there's a date. The purpose of doing certified mail is you've got the date, they've signed it, so you can say, yeah, you've received it. Potential issue of certified mail, it might sit there and hang out for a couple of weeks.
So does it miss any statute? Is that enough by statute to post and take a picture?
So I like that idea and the understanding that we immediately post something on the property and then we still have the clock immediately started to send the letter, right? Everybody good with that? Let's, we got the wording for that. Anybody?
What do you think? It says shall issue a comma first and further citations, further nuisance citation. Sound right?
Well, just gonna throw this out there, the town manager or his designated officer shall first issue a warning, comma, and thereafter a citation.
Very good.
That's right.
And thereafter.
And that's why we have public hearings. All right. So we've got that wording in there. Anything else? And we're sticking with 10 days. All right. Anything else? All right. I think we have a polished up ordinance and have quite a bit of stuff for the record. Council, are we ready to close up this public hearing?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Got a motion to that effect?
yes. Move.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. So now, a motion to adopt those amendments to chapter 13
Provided with a change.
with the changes as part of the record.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Woo! We got ourselves an ordinance there. Oh, we've got more. 16.
Chapter 16 deals with garbage and refuse, cans and disposals specifically. About the amount of waste that can be picked up as far as C&D or bulk material and yard waste. We're asked to get very specific by the planning board, and Chip sit down and our attorney sit down and look at something specific. We got our public works folks in, and they keep saying they speak their language. They keep saying 2 knuckle booms. So how big is a knuckle boom? What does that relate to the language term? So we got this wording notwithstanding. Public Works is authorized to remove waste matter and rubbish not exceeding 2 knuckle boom scoops, being estimated at 12 cubic yards. So that gives it an approximate. Now again, they don't run around with tape measures trying to find out exactly what 12, but approximately 12 cubic yards. And if this this was passed, we would get that out to the public and show them, you know, pictures, with our various different, mediums of communicating. The second part of this is mobile containers shall have their lids closed flush on the container holding waste. It does change the word line door when you talk about where to place your can, further than the front door of the residence. Instead of front line, it just didn't work with it. And I think that was it.
All right, let's ask some questions there, council. Well, I'm sorry, we haven't opened up the public hearing yet. Let's get a motion to open up the public hearing related to chapter 16, article 8.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so let's see. Questions?
This one to put-
Well, anybody for public comment first? Yeah, come on up.
So I live on a corner, 428 minute drive.
Yeah.
And so by that verbiage, the trash cans would be either in my driveway or at the mailbox based off of that line because I'm on a corner and the way I face. Or they're going to be on the opposite side of my house. Or I'm going to have to walk around the entire house to go dump my garbage. Where I've had them currently and where I've had them for the last 6 years that I've lived there, 6+, is nestled in a natural green area, kind of hidden. Kind of, they're in the plane of the greenery, so they're not just sitting out there in the open. I don't like them by my house because that brings rodents and vermin. So my question is can you define that better?
Front door of the house. So if you have.
Right, so I
if you look
face-
at your address side of your house, where your front door will be at, that line, it needs to be past that line on either side or the back of your house.
So where it's at, it's fine.
Without me looking at it, I hate to tell you that,
So
it just sounds like it. Yes,
let's
sir.
say this is the corner, right? My house faces the park, let's say. Right, so my front door is here. I have my trash cans back here. That's perfectly fine.
I live on a corner lot too, and that's
Because I've gotten noticed twice on my trash cans, so that's why I'm clarifying.
What was the notice?
One was for leaving it out past the designated time, which I don't also agree with because what if I'm late getting home from work? What if I'm out of town? I leave Wednesday to go out of town for the weekend. Who's gonna bring my cans back from the curb?
Okay.
Right? Do I impose that on a neighbor?
I do.
Right? I don't think that.
Yeah.
I think there should be some consideration with that. If it's out there for 2 weeks straight and never gets put back, that makes sense. But a few days to me is a little excessive.
Again, the first one's a warning.
Yeah, but I've had a warning, so I don't want to take it next.
Well, and to mention how we're doing all these ordinances, the clock will start with warnings after this meeting, so everybody will still get another warning, even if you've already received warnings previously. So we did establish that the placement of the trash cans for this gentleman would be appropriate within this ordinance? Or do we? What was the address?
428 minute.
That's cool.
Check it out.
Okey-doke.
If you look it up on Google Maps, you can probably see.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now. And I must admit, I don't see the trash can.
I just got one question.
Yes.
Dixie, can we get 2 trash cans?
Absolutely. It is a charge for second trash can, which is the same as your first trash can. But all you have to do is go to town hall, request that, and put it on your can, we'll deliver it to you.
And how about
No
recycling?
delivery charge.
Recycling? Can we get 2 recycling or no?
No.
Hey, let's consider that.
We can
though.
consider, but by current ordinances, we could not, but we could consider.
So, thinking about that, a lot of people recycling for me is more than trash. Maybe a charge for the second recycling can, the first one's free. How does anybody feel about that?
We have not broached it, but it's a very simple thing. I think we have the cans, and we just need to put it in the fee schedule.
And-
We don't charge.
And we won't, and I've got your picture here. We won't, and I don't think we can necessarily approach it immediately right now, but first recycling cans free, charge for the second. Thoughts?
Easy to do. Easy
Okay.
to do. We just don't, we've not broached that. You were the first one I think I had
Yeah.
requested, so.
That's a good one.
So to that, let's say you have a party
Mm-hmm.
and now you've got like 5 extra bags of trash from the party
Mm-hmm.
that are not gonna fit in the can with a closed flush. We can't put them on the side because they won't touch them.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've got to put 5 bags outside of the can, back in the can, which now has it lid raised, not flush, for a whole nother week that you still have your normal trash.
So let me give everybody kind of the casual warning about how these things work. When we start giving too much wiggle room for anything, there's always somebody that's going to take advantage of that wiggle room.
Sure.
So what I would say is do we have some type of mechanism in place to where if people do have that type of extra garbage that we can come and pick it up?
We used to have it, so if they could bring it down to the Public Works, and they'd take care of it.
We don't have that ability right now. Let's put some thought into that, because, you know, a couple of things that staff has talked about with this one, so I'm gonna say that, is the special case. We have, you know, a large family gathering, you know, once a year.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas, obviously, we kind of made a decision, we're just not gonna look the week after Christmas.
Right.
Because we know, you know, there's an abundant amount of trash the week after Christmas. Thanksgiving the same way, right after holidays. So we would give, you know, no, that's not road and ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's some common sense to play there, and we know we could do that, but, we really have not addressed or come up with a good solution for that. Hey, this is my once in a while thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I've got one trash can in my house, I ain't got a second. A couple weeks ago, wife cleaned out a closet, caused a problem, I had to. I get that there's occasion,
I was very thankful to have Christmas at my house this year. And my nephew went out there and pushed all the garbage down because he knows I want to follow the rules. But, you know, we'll have somebody that'll say, well, you didn't get me this time, so why are you getting me now? I mean, you know how people are. And, but these special time, that was a special time for Amy, and I was tickled to death. And yeah, I think it's okay to just, like you say, it's a special time.
I do think we might have a solution coming up. The Johnston County, beginning with the new fiscal year in July, I believe they're doing away with that $100 fee.
That's true.
And you can use the convenience center.
And let's be clear, it'll be
And
added
you
to
won't
your
have to have a
taxes.
decal to put your household garbage in the, where you drive up and they put it in for you. Your recycling, you can also take that over there, and they have bins for recycling to put tires, electronics, appliances.
I've done
it's-
that.
And well, I have too, and I'm just saying, starting in July, that would help with the household garbage, and you wouldn't have to feel like you had to get a second trash can. You could take a little extra elbow grease and muscle and do it yourself, so.
Right, so just to be
that's something-
clear, they're not
something
just
to
taking
think
away
about.
that tag, but they're also adding to your taxes for everyone in the county. Yeah, you're gonna have to pay it anyway, yes. Yeah.
Line the trunk of your Lexus with garbage cans and just put it in there nice and neat and take it up there. We're not that far.
So let me ask, is everybody okay with that solution? Yeah, absolutely.
I had just a quick question. I still live at 908 Dixie Drive. I haven't
Yeah.
moved since we've been here. My trash can to the office, I was probably 3 knuckle booms or whatever it was, because I got, when they rolled back into the office today and said excessive trash violation, $25 fine.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, but it doesn't say it's a warning. It says this warning is to notify you excessive trash found in or around your garbage can. Excessive trash must be controlled by residents. This violation will be accompanied by a $25 fine.
We're not taking in any fines right now. Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
We're not.
if you do get a fine, a real fine just like that, I mean, we didn't want to print a lot of stickers that we're not gonna use, but it'll be followed up by a letter.
Yeah.
If you don't get a letter.
You'll get
if
an
you don't
invoice.
get a letter or warning, you will. It'll say 0.
Well, I'm gonna get them next time they park in my parking lot. I'm getting trespassing. So
It'll say 0 charge.
This picture of your house, so these cans are in the back of your house, right? Oh, yeah, yeah. Perfect. That's
Even
fantastic.
though they're.
No, the front door of your house. Yeah. If you live on a corner and then on the side of your house, it's still the side of your house. My man. So we're okay with, yes.
I was thinking about some of the, like the appliance and all that stuff now, it's almost, do we not pick up that at all?
How do we feel about picking up appliances?
So, I think you left, so it's no appliances, no TVs, no tires, they need to be taken directly to a landfill, or a private service. I will tell you, I bought a new washing machine about 2 or 3 weeks ago, put my old one out, and, there's some great guys around town that scrap, it will not stay there long.
It sure won't.
Now, tires are a different situation. You're gonna get fine if you sit there.
But if this comes in effect, we won't have to worry about it, you just take it over to Smithfield.
Yeah, you're talking about with the July
Yeah.
change.
You can already take a flight.
I take my appliance over there, and they'll take them.
And recycling, they take that. I've been doing that for a long time.
Okay. So let's ask this though, if it says Public Works is authorized to remove waste matter and rubbish not exceeding 2 knuckle booms. So can you put plastic bags of trash out there?
Absolutely not.
So do we have anything that specifies that?
It's supposed to be yard and degree, right?
And I think we might need to dial that back a little bit. Because this says remove waste matter and rubbish.
See that?
I'm under D, notwithstanding the foregoing, Public Works is authorized to remove waste matter and rubbish not exceeding 2 knuckle booms.
We may need to, specify.
So I would say bulk, because we do have bulk items defined in our ordinance already,
Bulk items and yard waste.
and yard waste. So we're gonna strike waste matter and rubbish and replace that with bulk items and yard waste. Is that okay? Everybody good with that?
I'm trying to think of what I did. Was it legal? I mean, I had I think a chair, a tiny table.
And it's defined in the ordinance.
Right, I just,
You put it outside the room, and they picked it up.
they did, they came by, I put it, because it's that same day. So you put this, and then you leave enough room for the trash truck to pick your bin up, and you would be okay, but if you get too much, you need to rent that truck.
Yeah, that's the thing we're talking about.
So are we okay with that?
Absolutely. So chapter 16, article 8, garbage and refuse collection disposal sections. The one we're reading, 16 to 14, is only about construction, demolition of buildings. Chapter 16 to 16 is residential garbage. So I think we may need to take them both. We may need to repeat D. And 16 to 16 to make sure we cover.
Okay. So,
Just repeat it.
so we still,
Exact same, but just take D, leave it, and add a C, tell them where to not A.
They're not being amended. A and B staying the same. We just amended C and D.
So that would just cover you for residential garbage and for your construction C and D.
okay. So legal, we're good with those changes for the record?
C&D, like construction type waste, is still okay as long as it's no more than 2 knuckle.
Right, a couch, a bed, a thing, would be about it,
No, he's asking, is construction waste okay?
a small amount.
Right, enough that would
Right.
be,
A small project, not a
Right.
renovation. But now we have other options for you on that, if it actually is some major construction.
well, I just, from experience, I added on to my house, 60 by 60 addition. And all the leftover material as I, cut and built it myself, I cut everything down to 3 foot, neatly stacked it so that they can pick it up.
And then now you have about an amount. And most of the time when somebody's doing a small, weekend project, that's
And
clean.
that two knuckle boom, right, is for a week.
That's correct.
So,
We have solved some issues, like somebody did a lot of yard waste. Just cut down a lot of bushes, they just had these big piles, like here's an option. Bring a couple nut ones out this week. Bring a couple
so
next
you
week.
are allowing a grace period to,
As long as it's not at the road.
right, to pick up, to make multiple trips.
Oh, yeah.
If need be.
Absolutely. But it's only gonna be on your day, it's not gonna be.
Yeah. It's not gonna be until it's done.
I had a bunch of stuff behind my fence probably for about 3 weeks straight and pulled it out week by week, just to make sure they could pick it up.
I've done that too.
Okay, so is everybody good with those changes that have just been mentioned as far as the amendments to this ordinance? Sounds good. All right. Anybody else for the public hearing? Do I have a motion to close this public hearing related to chapter 16?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. Do I have a motion to approve the amendments to the ordinance with the additional amendments mentioned this evening?
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we got another ordinance out the way. Ooh, we got more. Chapter 17.
Maybe this won't be quite as controversial.
Okay.
But this is.
Controversy is good, though. We're learning.
We have a from a business about our height restriction. They wanted to put up some, silos. So we looked at it like, why is it 40 feet? Why is it 40 feet in 19? So, we're proposing to go to 75 feet. And this would be in industrial areas. So the only difference here is striking 40 and adding 75.
That's not too bad. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing related to chapter 17-430?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Our public hearing open. Would anybody like to comment as part of this public hearing related to the height of a building?
I was just gonna make a comment. If we go up 75 feet, we're staying out of the air space.
Yes, sir.
No air.
We have 82 feet at the, base.
Okay.
Anybody else? Any questions?
But
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing related to got a public hearing open? So just for background, we are working on significant upgrades to all of our facilities throughout town. This part of grant money is going to, that we're seeking is going to go toward, if we receive these grant funds, the Richard B. Harrison Athletic Complex, the old Richard B. Harrison campus. And that's to improve particularly the exterior fields so that A, we have fencing, is graded properly for a soccer field in the back. We have lighting around the entire area so that kids can play into the summer at night. I've had a few soccer practices cut short because it got dark. Parking lot, a little extra parking space around that area, no doubt. And there are a few other things that were in there as far as
Parking lots, lighting, soccer field.
so we got grading and all the machinery that we would need to keep on hand to prepare the field.
The soccer field, that would include drainage and,
Sprinkler. Irrigation. There it is. There it is. So we do have quite a bit that we need to do to all facilities, but we have made a serious push to do some significant work to Richard B. Harrison. With that, we do have the pickleball courts that should get started pretty soon as we get the temperature staying straight, and then all the other pieces there. Do I have that resolution in the pile here somewhere? Recreation facilities for our citizens, visitors, stakeholders. And whereas the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund was established with bipartisan support on July 16th, 1994, to fund improvements in the state's park system. to fund grants for local governments and to increase the public's access to the state's beaches and coastal waterways. And whereas the town of Selma has determined it to be in the best interest of its citizens to pursue this grant funding to further the development of town of Selma parks and recreation facilities. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council members of the town of Selma, that the town of Selma does hereby support and encourage the application seeking funds through the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund grant. That the town of Selma does hereby commit to actively pursuing and implementing this grant opportunity if awarded to improve the Richard B. Harris campus. That the town of Selma does hereby believe top-notch recreation facilities are in the best interest of its citizens, and that the town of Selma will continue to strive to develop parks and recreation facilities and to use the appropriate resources for all our citizens to gain access to community and recreational activities. We've got that resolution before you, council. Do I have a motion to adopt that resolution?
So move.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Duly adopted this 12th day of March 2024. Do we have more?
Yes.
We sure do.
Requested a public hearing last month for a community development block grant. We have Miss Michelle Faison here, Withers Ravenel, that has been working diligently on this project. So she has waited 2 hours to get it.
Yeah, God bless you. God bless you.
She is gonna lead us through. This is gonna be a little, we'll go ahead and very, we need to give you this public, work through this public hearing, and then we need to take a 5-minute recess, which I think we're probably all about ready for. And let our clerk prepare these minutes and get them to you so we can get them approved and ready for April 15th or April some other. We got a deadline we're trying to meet. So she's gonna be leading that, take the recess, if it's okay with you guys, and then she'll do A, B, C, and A2.
Sounds
So
good.
you're gonna have to see my face for a few minutes.
That's cool. No, thank you for being here for all this
I
time.
will tell you all that, after listening to all this, it's been really informative for me, and I appreciate how much this town and public are very active in participating in these things.
That's what we need.
And I'll be looking up knuckle boom. We don't get to measure by knuckle booms. We measure by linear feet at Withers, so, I'm missing out apparently. So first of all, Mayor McAllister, members of the council, and Chief McDaniel, who I get to work with on a monthly basis. I do appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to present this information to you all and to the public this evening. So, as Chief McDaniel stated, my name is Michelle Faison, and I work with Withers Ravenel Engineering. I'm currently the assigned funding project manager for the Selma Community Development Block Grant Infrastructure Project. And this public hearing is being held to discuss and request your approval of the reduced project scope amendment for the CDBG sewer rehab and replacement project. And that's based on bids that have been received and the available CDBG budget that we have. Prior to this meeting, I did forward a memorandum and associated mapping for the council's review to Dalton. I think he's already got that. I'll be referencing that information now, but I did also bring some copies for the public. Maybe not enough, so since you guys have such a great turnout, but I put them on the podium in the back if anybody would like to receive a copy this evening, just so you know what we're talking about. I do have to read kind of a script to you all, so apologize that it's more, it's not as fun and interactive right now as everything else we've had this evening, but in April 2021, the town was awarded a total of $1,999,800.
Stop.
We need to open the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Council, do I have a motion to open the public hearing related to this 2015-2020 Community Development Block Grant?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is open. You got the floor.
Okay, so I'll start over. In April 2021, the town was awarded a total of $1,999,809 in U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, that's HUD, CDBGI funds. That's 100% of the total project cost. That's all federal funds. from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, which is DEQ, Division of Water Infrastructure, DWI. The original approved project scope included rehabilitation and replacement of approximately 6,505 linear feet of aged, deteriorated 8-inch diameter sewer line and rehabilitation of approximately 33 manholes in the areas of East Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., South Pollock, East and West Preston, South Sellers, South Sharp, South Webb, East and West Noble, East and West Watson, East Railroad, South Rayford, and West Jones Streets. Construction bidding included rehabilitation of approximately 6,020 linear feet of 6 to 10 inch diameter gravity sewer line, rehab and replacement of approximately 18 manholes, replacement of approximately 145 sewer service reconnections, and replacement of approximately 4,305 linear feet of 4-inch sewer laterals with 5 bid alternates within that original project area. As many of you know probably, after 4 rounds of advertising for these construction bids, because the climate is that way right now with construction, the project scope was negotiated with the lowest responsible bidder. Due to the bid prices received, the amendment project construction scope will be reduced down to rehabilitation of approximately 1,817 linear feet of 8 to 10 inch diameter sewer line, rehabilitation of approximately 8 manholes, replacement of approximately 48 sewer service reconnections, and approximately 1,680 4-inch sewer laterals, addressing segments of ranked percent serving low and moderate income, that's LMI residential areas. Specifically, the project area now includes East Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Way, South Sharp Street, South Rayford Street, South Webb Street, East Preston Street. Much of this area is now being served near the Public Housing Authority. The base bids and alternate bids received were more than the available CDBG budget. I will tell you that is not unusual for what we're seeing with any of these infrastructure projects right now. It is a contractor's market. To reduce the construction scope, first all the alternate bids were removed from consideration. Then project area segments to be addressed were selected by ranking the low and moderate income percentage per sewer line segment. The ranking came from the grant application phase when households were surveyed for income to determine the benefit to LMI households. The project must benefit as many LMI households as possible to meet those national CDBG requirements. The project's original LMI was approximately 92.8%, while the updated LMI is now up to 94.12%, which is a good change. The project area has a population that is at least 51% LMI, and therefore 100% of the CDBG funds will be used to benefit LMI persons. The attached maps that I provided before, there are 3. They will show you the base bid area, that was the original project scope, the alternate bid areas, and the final reduced construction scope. You'll see on that 3rd map in red is what we're proposing to complete at this point. The total project budget remains unchanged at $1,999,809. The original determination of no adverse impact to the environment is retained, and this project will be like-for-like replacement of lines with no increase in capacity. As a matter of compliance, I have to take note that the town does not discriminate based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, handicap, age, familial status in the admission, access to, treatment, or employment in the CDBG program and activities. Efforts will be made to minimize displacement during project implementation and applicable utility easements, and displacement assistance as necessary will be available. Persons with disabilities, limited English proficiency, or who otherwise require special accommodations can contact the town at 919-965-9841, or they can utilize the telecommunications device for the deaf. That's an 800 number, and the relay service at 711. Any of this information this evening is available in Spanish or any other language upon request to the town. We are also encouraging and welcoming public comments regarding the program scope amendment. Those would be sent to Chief Philip McDaniel. In the comments, we ask that they would be postmarked no later than Friday, March 15th. Written response will be made within 10 business days. The project amendment package will be submitted to DWI within approximately 2 weeks after all of the required CDBG forms are executed, including some of the things you will have this evening. Public grant documents are available at Town Hall upon request between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. And all Town Hall visitors must comply with federal, state, and local, this is probably a little outdated now, but coronavirus guidelines. We don't know what's going on with that, but you know. And that concludes the script that I have to read to you all, and if there are any questions that you might have for me, I will try to answer. Remember, I'm not an engineer.
Council questions?
The short, sweet, lamest terms of it is when we price this project, inflation is, and it is extremely hard. And we're getting, I'd say, a little more than a third of what we wanted to get done.
It's a good approximation.
In the original, grant documents. Still get a lot done. It's not still a good thing, but we thought we could do a lot further.
And we are benefiting more LMI households than we originally had in the original scope, despite the reduction in scope.
Do we have anybody else that wanted to comment as part of the public hearing? Do we need to keep this hearing open, or are we good to go ahead and close it?
The hearing will be over, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then there's a couple things you have to do after the.
Correct.
Okay. Council, do I have a motion to close this public hearing related to the CBDG?
Yeah, that one's a tongue twister.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
The public hearing is closed. All right. Good stuff. What else we
You
need to do?
need to vote on this resolution.
We need to go ahead and vote on this resolution? Council, do I have a motion to,
I'm sorry, we recess now, then we vote.
woo,
Okay, so
there we
I
go.
request a 5-minute recess.
Council, do I have a motion to go into recess?
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ooh, 5-minute